Great leaps forward. No, not that great leap forward. I'm talking great leaps forward in the larger sense. Times where humankind really pulled a Mike Powell. There's gotta be a couple of them. In fact, there's a couple of them for every field there is out there. You could think penicillin or the X-ray machine for medicine, the explosion engine for locomotion, the camera and microphone for entertainment. The title of the video isn't Random Inventions in no particular order, is it? Here we are interested in inventions that have revolutionized human culture and communication. More precisely, the most recent one, the World Wide Web. With that said, it is still pertinent to veer our attention towards the predecessors of the internet in terms of revolutionizing culture to understand the kind of impact those so-called leap forward really have. First and foremost, language.
Trickle fuck with two now, I'm gonna fuck with you. What's going on with the trickle you? Six bomber ass clot, pussy bomber blood clot egg.
Now I know this might be going a bit far back, but let's be honest, no one here right now was there back then, when the first ooga boogas were uttered. There's probably one or two theories out there that try to pinpoint when exactly the Homo sapien or anything under it in the evolutionary tree used its mouth for something greater than eating. But if we hardly know anything about the Middle Ages, and most of what we do know stems from historical guessing games, I don't know if I want to say for sure what happened back when the American senators were but children and the first traces of language made their apparition. Nonetheless, I think we can all imagine what a world without language might look like. How could I spread culture? Like, for example, tell my buddies about this new artist I'm listening to, if no one was even capable of asking directions. It goes without saying, not the ideal climate for the development of cultural hubs. Therefore, it is probably safe to assume that speaking to other humans in a commonly understood language inside of a community truly revolutionized communication, no shit, and culture. The next step also happened a while back, but this time we actually have some relics to tell us about it. That's because it's writing. Stuff being written down is the reason we know anything about the past, so everything before is naturally a blur. The first form of writing that we know of is cuneiform. It comes from the Sumerians, but it was also used by a plethora of different civilizations. It was basically just signs carved into a clay tablet. How far we have come. The mere fact that we know anything about those ancient civilizations is a testament to how powerful writing is. I mean, because of it, we know today not to buy copper from a sleazy businessman named Ea Nazir. The act of putting down words for people throughout the world and eras to read might just be humanity's #1 most useful invention. And on the cultural side of things, it ensured that a population's culture may at least be remembered in the future. It also made spreading one's culture and ideas far and wide around the known world way easier. An alphabet and writing system quickly became a staple for any civilization out there. And since a lot of them were tailor-made for their language, we ended up with a whole lot of them. But writing stuff down individually is only going to get you so far. Imagine having to copy a book like the Bible, letter for every church in the world. Count me out. Happily, around 1440, a German guy named Johannes Gutenberg intervened. He invented the printing press, which caused the printing revolution. Gone were the days where monks had to sacrifice their days and nights hand-copying holy Bibles for a greater cause. It was pretty easy to understand. Basically, a guy would arrange a bunch of solid blocks of something hard, which had letters of the alphabet written on them. Good luck, China. And he would press paper on them. Other dudes would shortly after gently press a ball with ink on said page to efficiently produce pages of any written work. You can see how that was revolutionary. Rich people could now own a book that wasn't the Bible just for the love of the game. Writers could write stuff that could actually be read by more than the 5 people capable of reading in their area. Guys from all around Europe could now own Latin Bibles, which they couldn't read because they didn't know Latin, which were all made in the same printing spot in Germany. Stories, science, political ideas, royal decrees, but mostly religious texts could now be spread everywhere like never before. Genuinely revolutionary. For the same reasons as writing, this printing thing really helped cultures to soar and thrive like never before, as one might expect. But the printing press wasn't all powerful. In fact, it had serious limitations. Notably, it was still a slow process to print all those books. That made said books expensive, and that is never cool. In 1843, in the US of a man named Richard Hoe invented the rotary press, and that pretty much solved the problem. Even though several other printing devices were invented between Gutenberg and Hoe, none of them really made similar a change as the rotary press. With the capability of copying the same page a million times a day, old Ritchie's invention marked the point where newspaper really became a thing. We're getting back to a point where the actual modern stuff is involved. I mean, newspaper were still a thing back when I was a kid. And if you want to think of the influence it had on modern culture, think of the fashion magazines like Vogue, think of the New York Times, think of Playboy, but I digress. Along with all the inventions of the Industrial Revolution, these new, ever-evolving printing devices provided the common folks with industrial levels of information for the first time. Back then, the newspaper really revolutionized access to information, and consequently, access to mass culture. Here are a number of things you might have learned from the newspaper back then. The First World War, along with the Second. The market crash. Al Capone dead. I know, a lot different from today's what is Taylor Swift eating for breakfast, but we might have to get to that, as all these stupid catalogs and magazines nobody buys anymore used to be the place to learn about celebrity gossip or the new hottest trends. Stuff we are still obnubilated by to this day, only we get it from a different place. Speaking of which, let's finally get to our main showpiece, our most recent great leap forward, the internet.
Welcome to the internet. Have a look around.
In the 60s, the first sketches of an internet were made after some inventions in the domain were made. The ARPANET by ARPA was the first embryo of the internet we know today, as it was the first resource sharing network made with systems implemented in today's internet. In the 70s, ARPANET started being used to connect multiple universities and military bases across the United States. It was also eventually connected to a handful of places in Europe. The idea to connect local networks on one larger one was being pitched, and for the first time, the term internet was used. The 80s saw the beginning of standardization as interconnected networks were appearing all around the globe. That's right, the internet wasn't just an American thing anymore. Multiple internet service providers made their appearance by the end of the decade, and the next one was marked by the decommissioning of good old ARPANET. In the 90s, a more modern internet started to show its face, as the World Wide Web made it easier to use for non-computer nerds. Businesses were starting to use the internet as a tool, and surely, in 1995, the internet ended up fully commercialized in the US. Ever since then, the amount of information and the revolutionary instantaneous communication exchange tools accessible on the internet have simply skyrocketed. Today, the internet is a staple in our daily lives and possesses an immense amount of influence over our cultures. With the advent of social media in recent years, we are more and more seeing digital cultures and offline culture converge to the point where we must look to find the differences. Speaking of social media, there hasn't quite been anything as influent over our lives and our cultures on the internet as them. But was it always like this? Well, the first instant communication systems, today known as chat rooms, were created at around the same time as ARPANET. But that wasn't really popular until the 1990s, when the internet became easier to use for the common folks. The 2000s were where the shit was at. MySpace, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, even more niche stuff popped up like 4chan. The next decade saw stuff like Musical.ly, now TikTok, Discord, Instagram, Telegram, and much more. So let's talk about them. MySpace wasn't the first social media platform. Far from it. It actually wasn't even the first super popular one. That title arguably goes to Friendster. But since MySpace is basically just a better version of Friendster, let's just skip the former. It was released in 2003 and featured what would become some of the most common functionalities in the social media game. It made it easy to communicate with your buddies or with strangers, modifiable profiles, the presence of music in said profiles. Let's take a second to remember all those musicians who found their name on MySpace. A way to share YouTube videos on your profile so that the whole world may know how unique and quirky you were. It kind of sounds prehistoric now, doesn't it? Anyhow, MySpace crumbled following some major financial and technical fuck-ups, but mainly because Facebook was there now. On to Facebook then. Created at Harvard by whoever you may believe, Facebook beat MySpace to it because they kept the thing up to date properly. by adding new things like video calls and marketplace to the quintessential social network. Facebook, even though it is a shell of its former self, is still alive to this day. It might have also helped that they made actual good financial decisions. Now let's talk about the very platform this video is on, YouTube. The one thing that was so good they never really had to reinvent the concept. That concept is very simple, a place where people can post and watch videos on anything, about anything and everything. It feels almost natural that the internet was used for that, the very core of communication. Well, that's what you would have thought. The guys who made it actually just wanted a platform on which it would be easy to see the video of Janet Jackson's right breast being exposed during the 2004 Super Bowl halftime show. The platform quickly became popular, and soon enough, creators could make money through ad revenue. People could now be professional YouTubers, a profession nobody's parents will ever acknowledge. With videos raking billions of views, YouTube has become the best place to publish long-format videos and find an audience. Even with the advent of short-form content, people will still watch media in the longer format, maybe just less often, because without YouTube, where could we possibly watch hour-long video essays about subjects we don't know? Certainly not on TikTok. So now, how about Twitter? X. The platform differentiates itself from the others by its limited numbers of characters and usage, forcing the poster to go straight to the point with a statement. It was created in 2006, and 6 years later, surely enough, it had almost 1 billion users. With its trending page and the seemingly endless controversies happening around and inside of it, X always seems to be a hub for entertainment and engagement. We obviously always hate on that fact, but in the end, isn't that what makes it what it is? We really appreciate X without the toxicity and animosity hovering above it. I'll let you think about it while I tackle Reddit. The #1 website when you need a very specific answer to a very specific problem, since there always seems to be someone who's had the same problems 8 years ago. Reddit was created back in 2005, and it really is an interesting one to look at when the subject of conversation is culture. It has a subreddit for every subculture there is out there, may it be big or small. Oh, and by the way, a subreddit is somewhat of a page for a topic where everyone can exchange about said topic until promptly getting banned by power-drunk admins who live in their grandma's basement. It's a bit like the billboard that showed all the after-school activities you could do back in high school. Except, when you touch one of the flyers, you're instantly teleported to a room where every person who does that activity in every school in the world can theoretically openly talk and debate about said activity. It's gained somewhat of a bad reputation due to its stinky management and even more stinky users, no offense, but pales in comparison to 4chan. Brought to this world from the depths of hell in 2003, 4chan has the redeeming qualities to have birthed many of the memes that have shaped today's internet culture and to still hold a place for many internet subcultures. Apart from that, it's an image board where people can post a photo along with a text about their passion or their hobbies. It's also overflowing with extreme right racist ideologies, and along with Reddit, most of the content on it is not safe for work. The most recent social media platforms have been focusing on short-form videos to rapidly grasp the user's attention and use sophisticated algorithms to get them to spend even more time on the platform and sell valuable personal information to the highest bidder. It seems everyone wants a slice of that pie, so now we end up flooded with short-form videos from every social media we usually use. Whew, that was a lot to take in. But with all that thoroughly and put in place, I can finally talk about what I wanted from the start: internet culture.